This is how I got into Stanford in one day. A lot of people have been asking me for this video because it's one of my craziest stories, but there's a lot wrapped up into it, so I'm going to try to fit it all. Basically, it covers how I got into computer science, how I started playing football, and then how I wound up at Stanford. So it kind of all started when I took my first computer science class my junior year of high school. I really liked it, and I wanted to learn more, so I asked my teacher if there was any summer programs I could do. The problem, as it usually is, was that I had no money, and so we looked around for some free ones, and we found one at Dartmouth University, which is like an hour from my house. I applied to it, and I got in, and I was super excited. But then I learned they actually didn't provide housing, and I didn't have a car or anything, so I thought I wasn't going to be able to go. But then one of my friends and track teammates who lived right by Dartmouth said I could stay with him for that week. So I stayed with him, and while I was there, him and his brothers were training for a football combine at Dartmouth as well. It looked fun, and I was trying to get recruited for track at the time, so I was like, shoot, I'll join in. I didn't even have cleats at the time, so I was doing it barefoot. But they were like, you're doing super well. You should just come to the combine for fun and see what happens. So the combine was the following weekend, so I'd gone home, and I told my parents that I wanted to do it. And so my dad actually went out and bought me some cleats, which was like a huge investment for me and my family at the time, so I was like, dang, I got to do well. So the night before, I was like up late stressing and like thinking and praying like, please let me run fast, please let me run fast. So when I got there, they took everyone through like a warm up and some fundamental drills, and then they did testing, and they had us do like broad jump and a 40-yard dash, and I felt good, like I felt fast, and my friend was like, you looked really fast. I was like, thanks. But then at the end, they give you like this card with your times and like distances and everything. So for context, this is me running track. I was like way too big for a track runner. I was still getting recruited for it, so I knew I was fast, but I was like, shoot, a lot of people are fast. So then at the end of the like combine thing, they give you a card with your times and distances on it, and my friend was like, what'd you run? And I showed it to him, and he was like, dang. And I didn't really know what was like good or bad at the time, but I ran a 4.37 in the 40, and I broad jumped 11.2. And then one of the coaches came over to me and introduced himself, and he was like, hey, that was the fastest we've ever had anyone run. Where do you play football? And I'm like, I don't. So there are a lot of coaches at those combines, and a good amount of the schools offered me scholarships there that day. But most of the D1 schools said that they wouldn't offer me yet, but if I played football that season, they would offer me. What's funny is I didn't know if I could. I really wanted to go to West Point, and I was trying to run track there. And my track coach in high school was also the soccer coach, and he wanted me to try being the soccer goalie since they needed one. And I had already told him I would do it, so I was like trying to figure out how to navigate that. I actually tried doing both for like a little while because I wasn't sure which one I was gonna do. But then one night I was up late watching like YouTube of like 50 hardest football hits ever, and I was like, this looks like way too much fun. I gotta do this. So then yeah, the football coach had been like trying to get me to join the team, and he let me join late. And at first I was playing safety, but I was like garbage at it. So he just put me at like DN and said, go get the ball, and then like special teams, and just said, run as fast as you can and nail someone. So I did that, and in my first game I like depleted like 5 people on special teams, and I had a couple of TFLs and a sack. I didn't look like I knew what I was doing at all, but I definitely like showed some potential. And my teammates were like, you should put that online. So I put it on Huddle and sent it to some coaches. And then like a week later, I get a call from a California number, and they're like, hey, we really want you to come play for us. We think we can get you in, but there's one problem. They wanted me to apply early, and the application was due that night. So I was on East Coast time, which meant it was due at 3 a.m. Mind you, I didn't even know where Stanford was. I didn't know they were a good school. I just had these random people call me like, hey, come to our college. So I like told one of my teachers, and they were like, you gotta do it. So I stayed up super late, did the whole application. I had some heroic teachers write me my recommendation super late at night, and then I sent it in. And I didn't really hear anything from Stanford for like a while. Like the coaches would occasionally call me and be like, how's it going? Like, you played well the other day, blah, 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 blah. But I was still just like, whatever. But then I started researching, and I was like, dang, Stanford's like the best computer science school in the world. And then they were like, we want you to come out for a visit. So I leave the airport at like 6 a.m. New Hampshire time. It's like -20. This was in like the winter by now. And I get off the plane in San Francisco, and it's like 55, and I'm like, what? This is crazy. I haven't seen the sun in months. I'm like pale, walking around in shorts and flip-flops, like soaking it all up. Everyone at Stanford's like, I'm sorry you came when it's so cold. And I'm like, cold? This is like the warmest I've been in months. I was loving it. So I told them if I got in, I would go. And then eventually I got in, and it was completely free. And so I decided to major in computer science and get my minor in psychology, as well as my master's degree in sustainability, which is why now I get to make so many cool videos for you guys.